Good evening, everybody. Welcome to day 9 of the 24 Days of Christmas. We have been hanging out with Scrooge and the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come at the end of day 8. And Scrooge has seen all of his personal belongings kind of bartered over, argued over. People are stealing all of his stuff because it would seem he's kind of starting to get the feeling that maybe he has passed on. Here I've got my tea, my wonderful throat coat tea, which is actually 2 different teas. I think I mentioned this before, but I'll review it again. One is from Traditional Medicine, and it's literally just called Throat Coat, and the other one is from Yogi, and I think it's called Throat Health. Put together, it's a minty, delicious concoction that, if you do a lot of speaking, will kind of help keep things loose, keep things moist, and keep things, well, lubricated, we'll say. Let's see, what can we talk about? Hopefully you're enjoying. If so, you can always go back and rewatch, or if you haven't seen all of the episodes, you can go back and catch some of the episodes that you've missed. QR code over here will take you to the YouTube channel. Take you to the playlist on the YouTube channel where days 1 through 8 are, and day 9 is now. And you can go back and watch any of these that you would like to catch up on. What else? As we're narrating, I will be popping up this screen here, which will have a QR code in it. And the QR code, one of them, the top one goes to my Venmo. The bottom one goes to a website called Coffee, where you can buy me a coffee if you feel like you're enjoying the live stream and want to support me in a little bit of a microtransaction way. Never required, always appreciated. I'll just adjust that book piece a little bit there. Let's see. That's where we ended. And then what else? I think that's pretty much it. I will be popping these QR codes up probably sometime during this recording, and you'll have another opportunity. Again, previous episodes are up on YouTube. You can go ahead and use this, or look down in the description. I'm sure I'll have a link in there somewhere to point you over to the YouTube channel. YouTube tends to have better audio quality, video quality, and so I consider that the source of truth for this series. What else? We are starting with A Christmas Carol, which I'm sure you've already gathered based on talking about the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come and Scrooge. We've probably got 2 more episodes of A Christmas Carol, which will take us through, I think, day 10. Day 11, I'm probably going to do something a little bit different. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I actually want to show you guys how it would be different if I were producing a full audiobook version of this as opposed to just live stream narrating it. I'm sure you've noticed in previous episodes, I've made mistakes here and there. I've mispronounced words here and there. Or I've said something, I've said one version of a word where maybe I just misread it, and I might want to go back and adjust that. Obviously, if I'm doing a full audiobook production, I can absolutely do that. I can stop and go back and kind of re-record. So I may do a little bit of a longer stream on day 11 or day 12 and show you the process of full audiobook production, using this as an example. And then after that, we will be doing the Gifts of the Magi. One of my colleagues, a good friend of mine, recommended another book that is public domain, so I'll be able to record that one as well, live stream it, and hopefully that'll take us up until the night before Christmas, when I will be narrating the night before Christmas, which will be a pre-recorded stream, just so you know. Because I will be out at my sister's in-laws' place for Christmas Eve dinner. So I will not be at home on Christmas Eve alone narrating an audiobook. But yeah, I think without further ado, I will go ahead and get started with day 9 of the 24 Days of Christmas, and we will continue with Scrooge and the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, and see what the future continues to look like. And I'm sorry if you hear my dog in the background coughing. He's got a little heart condition, so he's been dealing with that. And he's got medication, and he's doing pretty well. He still has all of his energy and everything, but he just has a perpetual cough that unfortunately doesn't go away. And I'm recording this evening with my door open, so you might hear that in the background. "Spirit," said Scrooge, shuddering from head to foot. I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven, what is this?" He recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay something covered up, which, though it was dumb, announced itself in awful language. The room was very dark, too dark to be observed with any accuracy, though Scrooge glanced round it in obedience to a secret impulse, anxious to know what kind of room it was. A pale light, rising in the outer air, fell straight upon the bed, and on it, plundered and bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this man. Scrooge glanced toward the phantom. Its steady hand was pointed to the head. The cover was so carelessly adjusted that the slightest raising of it, the motion of a finger upon Scrooge's part, would have disclosed the face. He thought of it, felt how easy it would be to do, and longed to do it, but had no more power to withdraw the veil than to dismiss the spectre at his side. "O cold, cold, rigid, dreadful death, set upon thine altar here, and dress it with such terrors as thou hast at thy command, for this is thy dominion. But of the loved, revered, and honored head, thou canst not turn one hair to thy dread purpose, or make one feature odious. It is not that the hand is heavy and will fall down when released, it is not that the heart and pulse are still, but that the hand was open, generous and true, the heart brave, warm and tender, and the pulse a man's. Strike, shadow, strike, and see his good deeds springing from the wound to sow the world with life immortal." No voice pronounced these words in Scrooge's ears, and yet he heard them when he looked upon the bed. He thought, if this man could be raised up now, what would be his foremost thoughts? Avarice? Hard dealing, griping cares? They have brought him to a rich end, truly. He lay in the dark, empty house with not a man, a woman, or a child to say that he was kind to me in this or that, and for the memory of one kind word I would be kind to him. A cat was tearing at the door, and there was a sound of gnawing rats beneath the hearthstone. What they wanted in the room of death, and why they were so restless and disturbed, Scrooge did not dare to think. "Spirit," he said, "this is a fearful place. In leaving it I shall not leave its lesson. Trust me. Let us go." Still, the ghost pointed with an unmoved finger to the head. "I understand you," Scrooge returned, "and I would do it if I could, but I have not the power, Spirit. I have not the power." Again, it seemed to look upon him. "If there is any person in the town who feels emotion caused by this man's death," said Scrooge, quite agonized, "show that person to me, Spirit, I beseech you." The phantom spread its dark robe before him for a moment like a wing, and withdrawing it, revealed a room by daylight where a mother and her children were. She was expecting someone, and with anxious eagerness, for she walked up and down the room, started at every sound, looked out from the window, glanced at the clock, tried but in vain to work with her needle, and could hardly bear the voices of the children in their play. At length the long-expected knock was heard. She hurried to the door and met her husband, a man whose face was careworn and depressed, though he was young. There was a remarkable expression in it now, a kind of serious delight of which he felt ashamed and which he struggled to repress. He sat down to the dinner that had been hoarding for him by the fire, and when she asked him faintly what news, which was not until after a long silence, he appeared embarrassed how to answer. "Is it good," she said, "or bad?" To help him. "Bad," he answered. "We are quite ruined?" "No, there is hope yet, Caroline." "If he relents," she said, amazed. "There it is. Nothing is past hope if such a miracle has happened." "He is past relenting," said her husband. "He is dead." She was a mild and patient creature if her face spoke truth, but she was thankful in her soul to hear it, and she said so with clasped hands. She prayed forgiveness the next moment, and was sorry, but the first was the emotion of her heart. What the half-drunken woman whom I told you of last night said to me when I tried to see him and obtain a week's delay, and what I thought was a mere excuse to avoid me, turns out to have been quite true. He was not only very ill, but dying then. "To whom will our debt be transferred?" "I don't know. But before that time we shall be ready with the money, and even though we were not, it would be a bad fortune indeed to find so merciless a creditor in his successor. We may sleep tonight with our light hearts, Caroline." Yes, soften it as they would, their hearts were lighter. The children's faces, hushed and clustered round to hear what they so little understood, were brighter, and it was a happier house for this man's death. The only emotion that the ghost could show him, caused by the event, was one of pleasure. "Let me see some tenderness connected with a death," said Scrooge, "or that dark chamber spirit which we left just now, will be forever present to me." The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet, and as they went along, Scrooge looked here and there to find himself, but nowhere was he to be seen. Scrooge looked here and there to find himself, but nowhere was he to be seen. They entered poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling he had visited before, and found the mother and the children seated round the fire. Quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before him. The mother and her daughters were engaged in sewing, but surely they were very quiet. "And he took a child, and set him in the midst of them." Where had Scrooge heard those words before? He had not dreamed them. The boy must have read them out, as he and the spirit crossed the threshold. Why did he not go on? The mother laid her work upon the table and put her hand up to her face. "The color hurts my eyes," she said. The color. Ah, poor Tiny Tim. "They're better now again," said Cratchit's wife. "It makes them weak by candlelight, and I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home for the world. It must be near his time." "Past it, rather," Peter answered, shutting up his book. "But I think he has walked a little slower than he used these few last evenings, Mother." They were very quiet again. At last she said, and in a steady, cheerful voice that only faltered once, I have known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder, very fast indeed." "And so have I," cried Peter. "Often." "And so have I," exclaimed another. So had all.
"But he was very light to carry," she resumed, intent upon her work, "and his father loved him so that it was no trouble, and there is your father at the door."
She hurried out to meet him, and little Bob and his comforter, he had need of it, poor fellow, came in. His tea was ready for him on the hob, and they all tried who should help him to it most. Then the two young Cratchits got upon his knees and laid, each child, a little cheek against his face, as if they said, "Don't mind it, father, don't be grieved." Bob was very cheerful with them, and spoke pleasantly to all the family. He looked at the work upon the table, and praised the industry and speed of Mrs. Cratchit and the girls. They would be done long before Sunday, he said.
"Sunday! You went today, then, Robert?"
said his wife.
"Yes, my dear," returned Bob. "I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday." "My little child," cried Bob. "My little child."
He broke down all at once. He couldn't help it. If he could have helped it, he and his child would have been farther apart, perhaps, than they were. He left the room and went upstairs into the room above, which was lighted cheerfully and hung with Christmas. There was a chair set close beside the child, and there were signs of someone having been there lately. Poor Bob sat down in it, and when he had thought a little and composed himself, he kissed the little face. He was reconciled to what had happened and went down again quite happy. They drew about the fire and talked, the girls and mother working still. Bob told them of the extraordinary kindness of Mr. Scrooge's nephew, whom he had scarcely seen but once, and who, meeting him in the street that day and seeing that he looked just a little down, you know, said Bob, inquired what had happened to distress him. "On which," said Bob, "for he is the pleasantest spoken gentleman you have ever heard, I told him, 'I am heartily sorry for it, Mr. Cratchit,' he said, 'and heartily sorry for your good wife. By the by, however he knew that, I don't know.'" "Knew what, my dear?" "Why, that you were a good wife," replied Bob. "Everybody knows that," said Peter. "Very well observed, my boy," cried Bob. "I hope they do." "Heartily sorry," he said, "for your good wife. If I can be of service to you in any way," he said, giving me his card, "that's where I live. Pray come to me." "Now, it wasn't," cried Bob, "for the sake of anything he might be able to do for us so much as for his kind way, that this was quite delightful. It really seemed as if he had known our Tiny Tim and felt with us." "I'm sure he's a good soul," said Mrs. Cratchit. "You would be surer of it, my dear," returned Bob, "if you saw and spoke to him. I shouldn't be at all surprised, mark what I say, if he got Peter a better situation." "Only hear that, Peter," said Mrs. Cratchit. "And then," cried one of the girls, "Peter will be keeping company with someone and setting up for himself." "Get along with you," retorted Peter, grinning. "It's just as likely as not," said Bob. "One of these days, though there's plenty of time for that, my dear. But however and whenever we part from one another, I am sure we shall none of us forget poor Tiny Tim, shall we, or this first parting that there was among us?" "Never, father," cried them all. "And I know," said Bob, "I know, my dears, that when we recollect how patient and how mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel easily amongst ourselves, and forget poor Tiny Tim in doing it." "No, never, father," they all cried again. "I am very happy," said little Bob. "I am very happy." Mrs. Cratchit kissed him, his daughters kissed him, the two young Cratchits kissed him, and Peter and himself shook hands. "Spirit of Tiny Tim, thy childish essence was from God." "Spectre," said Scrooge. "Something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me what man that was whom we saw lying dead." The ghost of Christmas yet to come conveyed him, as before,
though at a different time, he thought. Indeed, there seemed no order in these latter visions, save that they were in the future, into the resorts of businessmen, but showed him not himself. Indeed, the spirit did not stay for anything, but went straight on, as to the end just now desired, until besought by Scrooge to tarry for a moment. "This court," said Scrooge, "through which we hurry now, is where my place of occupation is, and has been for a length of time. I see the house. Let me behold what I shall be in days to come." The spirit stopped. The hand was pointed elsewhere. "The house is yonder," Scrooge exclaimed. "Why do you point away?" The inexorable finger underwent no change. Scrooge hastened to the window of his office and looked in. It was an office still, but not his. The furniture was not the same, and the figure in the chair was not himself. The phantom pointed as before. He joined it once again, and wondering why and whither he had gone, accompanied it until they reached an iron gate. He paused to look around before entering. A churchyard. Here and then, the wretched man whose name he had now to learn lay underneath the ground. It was a worthy place. Walled in by houses, overrun by grass and weeds, the growth of vegetation's death, not life, choked up with too much burying, fat with repleted appetite. A worthy place. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it, trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded that he saw new meaning in its solemn shape. "Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point," said Scrooge, "answer me one question. Are these shadows of the things that will be, or are they shadows of things that may be only?" Still, the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood. "Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends, to which, if persevered in, they must lead," said Scrooge. "But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with what you show me." The spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. "Am I that man who lay upon the bed?" he cried upon his knees. The finger pointed from the grave to him and back again. "No, spirit. Oh, no, no!" The finger still was there. "Spirit!" he cried, tight clutching at its robe. "Hear me! I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this intercourse. Why, show me this, if I am past all hope." For the first time the hand appeared to shake. "Good spirit," he pursued, as down upon the ground he fell before it, "your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life." The kind hand trembled. "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me that I may sponge away the writing on this stone." In his agony he caught the spectral hand. It sought to free itself, but he was strong in his entreaty, and detained it. The spirit, stronger yet, repulsed him. Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. All right, that's where we're going to end day 9 of the 24 days of Christmas. And we shall probably conclude tomorrow with day 10 as we get into stave 5, the end of it. If you're enjoying these live narrations, again, feel free to buy me a coffee if you feel obliged. If not, no worries. Like I said, it's never a requirement, but it's always appreciated. Yeah, that's pretty much what we get. Scrooge gets to see that the only, well, how is it worded in the book? The only emotion that is brought about by his passing is that of joy. So that's a pretty bad spot to be in, I would say. If you're contributing that much misery to the world just by existing, and obviously with the Cratchits and some other people actively antagonizing their lives, that's definitely not a nice place to be in. In any case, if you are enjoying, again, you can also go back and listen to any of the previous episodes if you'd like. Here is a link to the playlist for all of the previous episodes, including this one, over on YouTube. And hopefully I will see you guys again tomorrow night for day 10 of the 24 days of Christmas, and we should be wrapping up A Christmas Carol, and then we can move on to a new story on the 11th day. So have a great night, everybody. Happy holidays. I will see you tomorrow night.